Hello everybody, I'm Charna Davis-Wiese and this is UCF Profiles. Now not too long ago, the cartoons many of us grew up watching were painstakingly illustrated by men like Walt Disney or the team of Hanna-Barbera. In this high-tech millennium, digital animation is a group effort as never before. Join me in welcoming our good friend, Max Croft.
Thank you very much.
So thanks for coming back. This is so cool. We're going to talk about the film that your kids did called Uncle Monday.
Right.
And when you showed it to me and told me 8 months earlier, these kids had no idea how to do animation.
That's
and
right.
made this film, it just boggled my mind. Was it surprising to you when your first group, this isn't your first group?
Well, Uncle Monday was actually
the first group.
Was the first one.
Was it surprising how fast they caught on?
It was very surprising. Now, you know, we have a group of kids who are very passionate about this as well, too. So they're hungry to do it. They stay 24 hours a day. But you know what you said a minute ago about nowadays, it's more about teamwork, more about a bunch of people. It's very true. And that's one of the things we try to teach our students is if you're going to be in the animation industry, whether you're doing games or television shows or commercials, it's very unlikely that you're going to go out and do it by yourself. Almost always you're going to do it with a group of people. And so that's one of the things we try to teach them too.
And you have the highs and the lows.
Absolutely. Shut up, you shut up, I love you, hug me, okay.
My idea. Let's talk about Uncle Monday. Of all the things to choose, why Uncle Monday?
Well, let me tell you just a bit about our program, how Uncle Monday came into it. We have a 2-year program at the School of Digital Media. The first year is about principles, concepts, theories, and about applying those. And in the second year, their senior year, they're put on a production because our program is design-oriented and production-oriented. And we want these students, these young professionals, when they get out to know how to work on a production pipeline. So in order to do that, we need to set up a project that is challenging enough for them to do, but also safe enough for them to finish because we believe in deadlines. In the real world, there are deadlines. So Uncle Monday came about because we thought, what can we do to make this project greater than just us? It's not a homework assignment. It's not just about us. What can we do? And so we started fishing around and came up with the idea that if we could create something that would show the kids of Florida, the school kids of Florida, a little bit about their past.
So there's your client.
There's our client right there. And also show them how you can take an oral tale and turn it into an animated movie, then that would be something worthy enough of our program.
And you picked Uncle Monday, and it's so perfect because it's something that is so rich in our history. Zora Neale Hurston collected it, or did she write it?
Well, she actually collected the movie. That's right. Uncle Monday is a tale that's probably hundreds of years old. One of the things we wanted is to represent, in some movie that we did, represent the state of Florida, and this movie does. The 4 groups that are part of Florida, the African Americans, the English, the Spanish, and the Indians in Florida as well too. And we found Kristin Congdon, who I'm sure you know, who works at UCF as part of our digital media. She wrote a book where she went and collected all of the tales of folklore that took place in Florida, and a lot of the ones were from Ms. Hurston, as a matter of fact.
And this is what this new millennium, this new era of animation is taking an ancient tale and putting it together with the highest of technology to tell the story.
Yeah, make it more accessible, to make some of these, you know, these are the stories that have withstood the test of time, so there's something in it that attracts us deep down. So if we could find that spark and turn it into an animated movie, we think we would build a young audience.
Isn't it too bad that we just can't see your kids working on Uncle Monday here? Do you think maybe through the magic of technology we could somehow zoom over to the college?
If only we could go to the college right now, what would we see?
What do you know?
Okay,
Should we jump?
that worked.
You can see why we're not actors.
Right.
I'll promise you again, we'll never do this cheesy stuff again. And look, the magic tells you of different clothes.
Different clothes, that's right.
It's amazing, kind of like a portal in Harry Potter. All right, I digress. Where are we?
This is our animation design room. This is where the students learn the techniques, the principles, the concepts of animation before they get on the computers.
So they have to do that first. They walk before they crawl, before they walk, and walk before they run.
That's right, absolutely.
And we're going to meet some interesting people today.
Great people today.
You have to have your story, first of all.
That's right, and today we'll meet somebody who's responsible for Uncle Monday's story in the very beginning.
And Kristin Congdon, we'll go meet her?
Let's do it.
Oh, let's go.
Okay. Come here, Charna. I'd like you to meet somebody. This is Kristin Congdon, very special to us on their animated tales, and this is Charna.
Good to meet you. Let's chat. I want to hear all your stories. Most people, when they think of the history of Florida and folklore, you wouldn't think of folklore that has African roots. But especially in this area, it's very significant.
Oh, but I do think of African roots for many really good stories, particularly because in Florida, Zora Neale Hurston was the preeminent folklorist who collected stories about Florida. And so we have a rich history of folklore that has been documented mostly through the WPA, the Works Progress Administration, and Zora Neale Hurston's work in Central Florida, but throughout the South.
Was there a process that you went through where you thought Uncle Monday will be perfect for this?
Well, Uncle Monday is important because it's rooted in so many different cultural contexts. It's about the African culture, it's about African American culture, and it's about the Seminoles. And what Uncle Monday does is it teaches us about the power of the folktale. In other words, the importance of Uncle Monday is that it allows people to imagine a way out of oppressive situations. You can dream, you can speak, you can make something happen by telling a folk tale. It's also visually really good if you're going to animate.
Do you remember the first time you read it?
Yes, I think the first time I read it was when Kitty Pedersen and I were talking about doing the book. And when we pitched the book to the presses, it was with the Uncle Monday story. And that was the first one that she actually illustrated because it's so, I mean, the idea of somebody becoming an alligator. There's that whole notion of being under the water, which for African Americans, the symbolism of water is incredibly important because it was water that brought the Africans here from Africa. It's water that takes you back then to the ancestors. So there is that metaphor of being a crocodile or an alligator and going under the water. You are actually returning to the roots of your ancestors.
And it's wonderful.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Kristin was real important to the process. Obviously, she knows the folktale and the stuff that's going into the schools. So we wanted to follow that path. But I'll tell you, the man that really made this happen for us is Jim Story, who actually researched and directed our animated movie. Jim, and this is Jim Story. This is Charna.
The
I'm
man.
very glad to meet you.
Glad to meet you, Jim. So you're the director of it. We go
That's
from
right.
Kristin, we got the story, now it's your turn.
My turn.
So you have a blank slate. Now what's next?
Well, the film itself, animation is a different process from the written word. And the written word is all about you reading the thing on the page and making the pictures in your head. But animation is all about the pictures and less about the words. So whatever you pick as a vehicle for animation has to be essentially visual. And that's what attracted me to Uncle Monday. Animation, of course, requires the fantastic. That's why you want to use it. You don't want to use it on something every day. So we got people changing into alligators. We got all this other rich cultural background, and this two sorcerers coming together and having a battle. And that's what it really attracted to me.
So you get that all together and the direction comes in. What is the first step you take with the students?
Well, they have to have something that tells them where we're going. And the first stop was to create a beat board. And that told them what this thing was going to be about overall, where the focus of each of the beats of the story was, and also about the color and the style of the film. From there, it goes on to a storyboard, of which this was an early part of the first sequence of the storyboard. Before we get on to the real meat of the story, you have to know who Uncle Monday is. So we tell the story of Uncle Monday and how he got here and he escaped and was going to be recaptured, vowed he would never be a slave again, and changed himself into an alligator.
Not only do they have to visually animate this and make it come to life, they also have to know the production elements of what comes next and how to compose it and how to make one scene flow to the next, and they have to learn about filmmaking pretty much as well.
That's right. That's the teaching aspect of me as a director. To take them through, that's the whole thrust of this program, is that learning is around an actual production environment that they're going to experience outside. They're not going to go out and exist as a single artist doing something. They're going to be part of a team. Animation, any kind of film, is a team game, and animation even more so. Everybody's dependent on one another. You have to learn to get along. And my job is to teach continuity, the values of story, teach continuity, how we get from this picture to that picture, and the reason why we're showing them this and showing them this, what the focus of each of the shots is.
And see why we feel so lucky to have him as our instructors, right? Jim's been in the business a long time, and our students really have learned a lot from him.
And he's long-winded, too.
So now we're going to meet Stella.
Stella Sung.
Time to go to the music. Thank you, Jim.
I wish I could come, too.
You know, we are really lucky to have someone like Stella who's working with our program. Stella, this is Charna. Charna, this is Stella.
How are you?
She helps bring the magic to our movies.
Nice to see you. Welcome.
Thank you. One of my favorite things ever was at an Academy Awards show. They showed movie clips without music.
Right.
And how it was nothing. And how important it is to convey so much more than you can actually do with words alone.
Right. Well, the music helps to underscore, underpin the action of what's going on. My job as a composer is to try to help assist what the action is, the emotion of the music, the emotion of the film, the action that might be happening.
Is it difficult?
Well, you know, it can be, but this project was really lots of fun because it was the first animation that I've ever done. So it was wonderful to see how the animation was affected by the music and vice versa.
Is there a process that you actually go through to do it?
Well, yeah, there is. The animator will give me a film clip, and then I'll put it on the computer, look at it in the computer, and then I start writing as I see what's going on.
So you actually get the feeling of it. It goes through your soul and comes out on the keyboard.
Well, yeah, that's the idea. Yep.
And then you work with the students with this as well.
Yes, I do. On this project, on the Uncle Monday project, I didn't work so much with the students, less with students, more with the faculty, but I did have some student assistants. And in the project that we're doing now, it's all student-driven. And so the student is doing all the music, he's writing everything, and I just kind of stand around and say a few words and try to help a little bit. So.
That's too cool. Do you have a favorite part?
Of the movie, of Uncle Monday? Well, I love all of it. You know, there are two big parts of it. So the first part is kind of the history of the Florida folk tale, and then the second part tells the tale, tells this story about Miss Judy. And so it works all beautifully together. And I don't know if I have a favorite part. I just like it all. It's so much fun.
I do. I love when she's singing.
Yeah, well, thank you, thank you. We had lots of fun doing that. And what was really great was seeing how the animation came together with the music. Because I wrote the little song, and once I finished the song, the animators animated to the song. And so the little things where the worms come out of the can and everything, it was just great to see how it come to life.
With all the things you do as a composer and so very, very well known.
Thank you.
How do you feel about this little piece that's done by students that comes out so fantastically?
I'm so proud of it. I really am. It has been just a terrific collaborative project from beginning to end. Faculty, students, Kristin Congdon, who brought the story together, and that's what it's all about. In the end, we have a great project.
Thank you, Stella.
Thank you.
Okay, so we've met a bunch of people, but this is nothing. There are so many more people involved in making this work.
And our program is so good. I would invite you to come back anytime you want, and anybody else. We'd love to give tours down here.
But right now our magic is fading, and it's time for you to get back into your other outfit.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
So let's head on back to the studio.
Okay, here we go. Okay.
Cheesy.
Wow. That worked.
You'd think with all that digital animation and all that technology, you could have made me 10 years younger and 10 years thinner. I want my money back. But you know what? It's so amazing to see these kids work together and to see them put in the effort and the passion and logging the all-nighters. But that's what they're going to have to do. They're going to have that passion, as you and I know, to make it in any kind of creative business.
Absolutely. And they
You're
need
not
to set
gone at
themselves.
6.
That's right. That's right. And they do. They'll come in the next day at 9 o'clock in the morning and say they just left at 7 a.m. in the morning. But they love doing what they're doing, and they know when they go out there they're going to have to compete in a world where there's a lot of people who want to do what they want to do. Which is another thing we do. We try to show them and give them an opportunity to do a lot of different jobs. If they come in and say, I want to be a character animator, we say, okay, we'll give you an opportunity to do that. But we also show them how to composite and how to render and how to rig and how to model. And some of them say, wow, I never knew this. But we believe it gives them skills that will make them more valuable in the workforce.
When we come back, we're going to take a look at my favorite part of Uncle Monday. Don't go away. We're back. We're talking with Max Croft, and we're talking about the digital animation students in the program here at the University of Central Florida. And we're going to show you Uncle Monday in a minute, but let's talk about the story. The story is so wonderful.
This is, like you had mentioned earlier, this is a tale that Ms. Hurston had collected. She was collecting a lot of oral tales in the early part of last century. And so when she collected, it was really one of the first times it was ever written down, I believe. It's an amazing story, and I know we don't have a lot of time, but it's about a slave trade going to South Africa and picking this Uncle Monday, who was a priest in Africa, and bringing him to South Carolina. He escaped from South Carolina and came to Florida. And when he came to Florida, he got involved with the Seminole Indians. Seminole Indians were in battles there. He battled with the Seminole Indians. And at some point, and this is where the magic comes in, he decided that he was going to become an alligator until there was peace in the land. There is someone called Aunt Judy who lives out in the woods who says that her powers, her magical powers, are greater than Uncle Monday's magical powers. And then we get to discover in the story whether that's true or not.
And let's take a look at this piece. I just absolutely love this. The song.
One day, she decided to go fishing down at the Blue Sink. Well, folks tried to tell her not to go. Blue Sink was bottomless, and Uncle Monday lurked there. I'm so good. I'm so good. Uncle Monday, you ain't got nothing next to me. No, you don't. You don't either. I'm so good.
8 months. 8 months. 8 months before they sat down on the computer, probably. You know how you feel the first day of class? Can I handle this? It's amazing.
Yeah, I don't want to discount. We have some very talented students that come into our program. In fact, in our program, we admit students to the program by portfolio review and interview, which means they have a certain amount of talent before they get in.
You can tell by how not only is it proficient, it's charming.
Yes.
And you can't learn that. You're born with that kind of talent.
Well, and again, let me say too that animation is not all about drawing, although we require students to draw. There are lots of jobs in animation, especially nowadays with computers, that don't require that you be able to draw. But we believe that everybody that comes through our program should understand that, even if they're going to be a technical person, if they're going to write scripts and deal with servers, to understand what the process is like is going to make them better at their job.
Because you can't ask somebody to do something if you don't understand how it's done.
That's right. And in teamwork, everybody works together. What you're doing now, you depend on somebody else, and they depend on you. It's not like you're just waking up in your garage and deciding to do your own painting, When I look at this, I remember when Uncle Monday started coming to life. There's the whole design process and the story process, and you're figuring out what the environment's like, and then you actually start working on it. And when we started to see some of this come together, everybody just went, wow, these students, real. And then that just energizes them more when they see that there are results then they start working a little harder and things change. And it really just, you see the dominoes start to fall as production goes.
And as we saw, some of the work is very tedious, working over and over and over again on this little piece. And as we both know, working in this business, me as an editor of documentaries, you in theater, all the things you've done, and web designer, there are some moments where you hit the wall and
That's
you
right.
think, this is not worth it, it's not going to work, and then you go back, and then it's done, and I don't think anybody can describe the feeling unless you've done it.
That's right. The door opens up and suddenly it works out.
The sun comes out.
That's right. And that's also a good point about working with the team, because while if somebody is tired or down or feel frustrated, they can turn to a fresh member and suddenly there's one idea that sparks everything and then the ball is in the air again that way.
Yeah, it's hopefully that not everybody hits the wall at once.
That's right.
But then
That's
you're
right.
there.
Well, the end of production, everybody hits the wall. Then you have to start buying the pizzas and the meals and encouraging them.
And that when you put the titles on is when
That's
it
right.
really feels
And it starts
great.
to feel real. That's right.
It feels great. How do they feel about the project now that it's done?
Well, you know, the students that did Uncle Monday graduated in the spring and the summer of this last year. A lot of them have already gone out and gotten jobs in the industry, which make us very proud as well, too. I think this is something that they all feel proud of and something that they're willing to show to potential people in the industry that they're going to work with.
They did it so much like a business and like you do in the real world. I just love the music, and there's music and everything. Did they do auditions? Did they have to actually sit down and plan the soundtrack? And
well, you know, writing a soundtrack is different than writing a piece of music. And when you're doing it with a live action piece or with an animated piece, it's a push-pull thing. You know, the music comes in and it affects what's on the screen, and what affects on the screen affects the music. Now, we're really lucky in our program that we have Stella Sung, who works with us on music. That's one area of our animation program that's really grown over this last year. When we talk about B-Girl, I'll show you how that's blossomed. But we actually had the great opportunity of having Stella Sung write the music for this piece, which really anchored it down. And when our students saw or heard what the music was about, suddenly the action on the screen popped up as well too.
I was Googling, I'm famous for doing that with these shows, Googling the program, Googling you, and I came across web pages for students of yours, and they talk about not only how much passion they have for the program and how they can't wait to come in and work on it. They also talked about how it's such a journey because they think they want to go to do maybe modeling or do one thing, and then they find, well, this is great too.
That's right. That's right. That's right. And I mean, I know I'm interrupting you here, but to us that's really important because, number one, people don't always know what the jobs entail. They may say, I want to do this. When they start working on it, they really realize whether they love it or are good at it. But we give them an opportunity to do a lot of different jobs, and suddenly they look over here on something that they didn't even know, and suddenly they start loving that, and that becomes their passion. The other part of that is when they reach the real world and want to work in the industry, they may say, hello world, I'm a character animator. And
there's no jobs for them.
Yeah, there's none. But if you can composite, if you can render, if you can rig or model, then we have a job for you. And so that's why we try to give them a lot of skills, because these people don't want just jobs, they want a career in the industry. These are the people. These people in our program are the people in 5 years who will be creating the industry for us. They'll be writing the new software programs, they'll be directing the movies, they'll be writing the new movies. These people sitting in front of us are the ones that really will control the industry in a few years.
It's really true, and it's so great to have them so passionate about it. How about the distribution of it?
Well, I'm glad we talked about this because that's important to us. I think that makes a difference in a project. If you're in a school situation and you're doing a project by yourself and you're getting a grade for it, it means something and you work hard for it. But that's not the way the real world works. The real world says, here's $80,000, I need it Tuesday. And so there are hard deadlines.
And then Monday night you change your mind on something, right?
That's right, that's right. In the real world there are deadlines because there are people waiting for your product. And we had a great opportunity on this, and the next two movies that we have in production now for that too. For Uncle Monday, we worked with Mary Palmer, who's with UCF, who I think you know as well too, and she works with the state art organizations. Uncle Monday will be in the schools, in the Florida public schools. They've already written a curriculum based on it, on the story. And the students will get an opportunity, number one, to hear a story that was collected by Ms. Hurston. Number two, find out about Florida and some of their history, but also discover the art of animation, if that's something that they like, and see what goes into that as well too. And a higher level, discovering how you turn an oral tale into an animated tale is also part of that curriculum too.
So they've learned so much from this. They actually came came to this whole project with a blank slate, so
That's
to
right.
speak. They had to find their story, pick their story, create the way to do it, find the client, and go from nothing to a finished product
In 2 semesters.
in 2 semesters.
In 2 semesters, right.
So they're almost ready for anything.
They are, and they've shown it. We're very, very proud of our students. Of course, they're very talented when they come in, but we're very proud of them.
Have you heard back from any of them that have worked on it?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, we've got a handful who are already out working in the industry. We have some people in the gaming industry, we have people in the special effects industry, we have people that are doing commercials with animation, and people who are working on animated movies from our very first graduating class already.
That's something I was going to ask you with people who might be interested is, it's not only for the film industry.
That's right. What we talk about in our program is if you want to work in the industry, which would include films, movies, television, commercials, games, and nowadays there are so many other brand new areas in digital media, whether you're talking about handheld devices or the medical industry or the law or what's going on in law. There's so many now new areas, government, military, where they can use their skills and their craft that I believe there's probably more opportunity for our students now than there was 5 years ago.
And especially learning all the different sides of it as they do in this program.
That's right.
We know that in this business, or probably any business, the more you can multitask, the more valuable you are.
Absolutely, that's right. And if you know the end result.
Even if you're hired to do one thing and somebody doesn't show up who does something else and you can handle that, that makes you very valuable to your employer. And
Absolutely.
I guess once if you are an employer, you know what you want your workers to do as well.
It's always great on a production to have someone who's able to wear 2 hats. You know, sometimes in productions, depending on what it is and how long it is, you may hire this group, let them go, and hire another group and let them go, and hire another group and let them go, whether they're the design, the pre-production, the production, or the post-production people. Our students get an opportunity in those 2 years to wear all those different hats. So when they go out, they know what the pipeline is, what it involves.
Another thing I really want to mention, because we don't have much time left, is we really have to give a nod to the technology.
Absolutely.
If they didn't have this, they couldn't do it so quickly.
That's right. You know, you had mentioned, I believe, earlier on about Walt Disney and Hanna-Barbera, and I will say that there were great teams that worked with those people as well too. There was teamwork. Now the feedback is so quick. In the old days with Disney, you would do a drawing and you'd shoot it on film. The film would have to be processed, it would come back. A couple of days later, you could see your work. Now you can almost see it instantaneously. That means creative decisions can be made quicker. But it also means timelines are crunched. The technology's improved, so the clients out there are saying we want it quicker. So it all sort of comes down in the end.
They want it faster. What do you think it's going to be next, the technology? Is it going to be...
You mean what type of technology?
Yeah.
Well, that's always interesting. I guess you should always look at Steve Jobs to see what's going on next. He's a great marketer. But, you know, there's a lot of people talking about holograms now, as a matter of fact.
So we'll talk about that because Max is going to be coming back many times talking about all the things his kids are doing. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so glad. I love
Appreciate
Uncle
it.
Monday. I'll watch that piece again and again and again. And thanks for the creative magic.
That's
I'm
right.
Charna Davis-Wiese. Thanks for joining us. See you next time.